neighbor's yard. They had a fan so big. That was their runoff. They even told you 2 or 3 years. Ain't nobody paid any attention to the law. Here 2 years ago, 4 years ago. Boyden Farm, they're spraying. They little workers out there. Little lot right here. They over here spraying. Hispanic labor crew. Arnold Farm over across the little country road over here working. They prune. Boyden guys didn't know about it. They pay attention to the wind. That spray blew across the road. Made another Hispanic migrant labor sick. Law didn't get them till the 2nd year. Fine was astronomical because the law says I can't spray over here on my property and they come over here and bother y'all. That's EPA. So we think in terms of EPA like wage and labor, they the bad guys. But it was the 17th or the 18th when the woman got up from Washington speaking down there with the Buffetts. I didn't even know who the Buffetts was. I didn't know about the Rich Foundation family. But anyway, when she said that they've got $319 million in this new farm bill budget to teach communities and help us know what we need to know about environmental protection agencies. I bet I got a card. I bet I got
And we need that here in
now you hear me, huh?
Because they try to dump in our community.
But that's an agency. And see, when you go to USB office, they ain't gonna tell you none of this, and they're not supposed to. Just do their job. If they do their job, treat us fairly, help us where they can help us, we'll be fine. And since all of us went to school and we can read and write, if you can't, some of your grandkids can. They do technology like you wouldn't believe. So if we learn the programs, we can do what we need to do. So, any other questions?
Yeah.
I got 2 questions. Well, I was just saying this part since you brought that up. When I purchased the land here, I don't know if it was hearsay or because they were saying there was so much, the land wasn't good here because there was so much pollution and it was messing up the farmers' crop. So they didn't want to.
I'm laughing at that one. That's right.
It's
backwards. That's laughing.
But I think one of the things about that, they used to burn tires here all the time and all of that rubbish. They would bring the tires from the inner city and they would burn all of that rubber and then take the iron to sell. And that became a real issue. And then to me, I think the last thing was the
sludge.
Yeah, the slush.
That's
putting out.
That's those people dumping on the road.
But they was telling me, you don't have to buy over there because of that. The other thing I wanted to ask you was, what's the difference between a loan and a grant? A grant is under different rules, whereas you're getting a grant, you have to pay it back, or what are the rules of all that?
Grants, depends on the grants. Most grants are money that you don't pay back. That's why everybody asks for grants. Loans you have to pay back. But with the Rural Development Agency, there's some grants you pay back, depends on the criteria. Just like whether people know it or not, Rural Development is responsible for so many that Greenstone stuff. Most electric companies, Rural Development gave them their startup money. Rural Development, they help build communities. They've given money to electric companies, phone companies, community development, whatever. Rural Development did a loan a few years back. I don't know if they're still doing it. We did when we got tricked. And they solicited because there wasn't nobody using the money. An individual could get $5,000 grant to do something, but it was supposed to produce something. A group or an organization, I think, could get 10 or 20, I don't remember. But they wanted you to take that money and make interest off of it, and then you wouldn't have to pay it back. Like, say, Greenstone, or people that loan money, different credit companies or ag services or whatever, if they give them $100,000 and then they would loan, they were soliciting, because Michigan Farmers Union is who solicited us, because they wouldn't have to pay that grant back if they they loaned us 10,000, and we paid them back, and they made a profit off it. It was getting the company started, and they loaned you 5 or loaned you 310. So those grants were grants conducive on how they had set up the program. And see, a lot of big companies or ag services, this was one out of Kansas when I was down in Nebraska, whatever. They had started, I think they gave them $300,000 to start cooperatives and all of that. They were using federal dollars and making money, and so they didn't have to pay it back if you just got it and used it. So the majority of the grants, to answer your question, are you don't have to pay them back, but you're required to do something. And grants don't just basically give you money to build a barn, to buy a farm. One year, some agency from the government was giving up to $300,000 to buy something else. Only saw it that 1 year, didn't act on it, never saw it again. But basically, grants are to do stuff.
To help
The whole of something. And most of them are research and education. They're for different things. But grants are usually free money. Loans, you got to pay me back. And I want you to pay me back.
right.
Okay.
This one, I understand the importance of credit and everything, and I'm in this business with my mother, but I am married, and we have our own separate bank account, and you're saying you can't have over X amount. I heard you also say that you do this business, doing business as DBA, so such that this is for us, and my husband doesn't have to worry about what I'm getting into with my mother. But also, you know, she's retired, that's a fixed income, but I get the same paycheck every, so it's still a fixed income too, even though I'm working. How is it working when you have to do your taxes and you're going after these things when you're saying, I want this grant, but I can't have over 10,000 in the bank?
No, because you and your mother is going to develop an entity.
I see.
She's going to still have her separate retirement and pension. That's mom over here. This is daughter and husband over here. This business is a ABC.
Okay.
This is an incorporation or an LLC or whatever. Just learn the guidelines for whichever way you make it a business. So this, if this goes bankrupt, it's bankrupt. It has nothing to do with you and your husband. It has nothing to do with her and her pension. You form you a separate entity, in which we didn't always know that. And even if it works for an individual family, so many of my big farmers, you know, I know it now, they're LLCs or, and all of them got separate rules because with LLCs, I found out if your kids are under 16, they can't work there. So, you know, most of the companies that got LLCs, their kids are grown or whatever. But whatever it is, and then look up like 501c3s, get you a lawyer that does business stuff like that. And you can find somebody to pro bono. But anyway, just set up, even if it's a family farming operation, mother, daughter, kids, still set it up as a separate business. So it don't affect whatever you've done all your life. And one other thing that I need to mention, when we were talking about the commodity payments and even the monies out of the county offices, the county committees are so important now. Those are the voting members in every county who runs the flow of money in that USDA office. They've done a push for minorities to be on it for the longest because they used to have it where they had a minority advisor. It would be someone of color, but he didn't have his vote. Yeah. So now they're pushing. Now there's a guy in Alabama who's been on the county committee about 4 or 5 terms, and now he's chair. He's a black guy. There's only 12 black farmers, so he's just been around the farming so good that everybody knows it because 12 blacks didn't put him in. But in those counties, there's never been blacks. Washington is promoting it. They're doing everything. But check out your county committees and start trying to participate on that. Here's a couple of insurance is important. Risk management agency does that. Here's, I don't know if you got this book. Yeah. I just read that. Were there any other questions? Oh my goodness. I saw Nick. You had your hand up earlier, did you not? No. Donnie. Okay. Nick. And then Donnie.
In relationship to that LLC,
involved, or like if it's a new something or whatever, you don't have bad credit with that. They might use they won't use your collaterals, but I don't know if they'll look so much as yours individually, hers individually, and the other partners, and combine it, but it's still separate. It's a separate entity, yeah. So if you don't have none, it can't be bad. No credit is, you know what else, just start putting money in the bank and get off to the races. Don?
Yeah, I was going to ask, looking at the back of this thing, I saw the aquaponics grant. I know a lot of people here also do urban farming. Is NCRE giving out a lot of education grants and stuff like that?
You can start that on the farmer research, but we're in the North Central region of SARE, and they do a research and education. I would suggest you go on the internet under North Central region SARE. Look up the grants. Now, they did a call, the research and education grants are bigger grants, and they're usually 3 years or 2 years, and they might be 200,000 or 300,000. They'll ask you to do, there's a timeline on pre-proposals, then they'll ask you to write a full proposal, and then they'll come out. I think they've done it already, but there's no timeline on when you can send in a pre-proposal. It's the only thing that means that they've done it and they're picking the ones now for starting October 1st of 2014, that means you're in the next round. So just read up on it and look what they asked for. We have a meeting at my place this summer where our whole group, the North Central Region Coordinator and research people, the grant people were there. But with SARE, the other good thing about it is if you see a call for proposal for one of the USDA agencies, like NIFR or Risk Management, they'll give you the call or the request for funding or whatever. All of them will tell you how much money they have. They'll tell you the ceiling that you can ask for. And then they'll tell you how many grants they expect to get in and how many they expect to fund. That's one thing. But when you call those numbers, sometimes you'll get somebody, sometimes you'll leave a message. You might have to make 1 or 2 calls. And then they really don't give you as much. I suggest when you're doing a proposal or a grant, you use what they give you. You give them their words back. But anyway, but SARE is different. I said all that to say that SARE, you're going to get a real person. For that farmer rancher, you're going to talk to Joan Benjamin. She's going to give you anything you need to know. Think of Jahari. I know Jahari knows Joan. She's probably been here. Kavanaugh Grant that's at University of Illinois, she's not going to be as free-flowing. But SARE really works with people because she doesn't really work with the grants. That's why. Now, Beth Nelson works with that big research and education grant. And when you call them, they're going to talk to you. You can ask direct questions. I'm thinking about doing this. I want to do this or whatever. They'll encourage you to look on the internet to see what has been done in that area, in your area. You know, if there's any projects, if you want to research blueberries, they'll tell you to look and see what's already been done, or nothing and add to it. But they'll really work with you. And there's also a grad student grant from North Central. I think that's about $10,000. And they just gave 3 different kids at MSU a grad student grant. So they're real easy to deal with, and for people who just might want to do a little something on their own, I suggest you just play with their farmer ranch. Or if you've got a kid in grad school, let them do their 10,000.
So it doesn't matter if it's already been done, you can do it over.
Right, but if you see something, and then you can go on the SARE website now because we've got, what is it, a MySARE thing now where you can look at all the grants and stuff that has been done, and you can pull it up. So if you see that it's something that you want to work on and it's been done in your area, well then quite naturally you're going to go a step above what's already been tried. You know, do it. Yeah, I think in this one, is this the one? I don't know. I didn't bring the one with Jahari and that. This is a grant. That's the blueberry farm, but I didn't know this was the one. It's another book, one of those books that has a mentor grant that I did in it. It has a guy on the track. And that tells you about a grant that I did in North Central SARE. But,
Do we need grant writers for these?
I
No, you do not need
Oh,
to.
yeah, now this is the mentor grant I did, when I did that one, maybe 2,000, 3,000. They, my reviews, the only critics I used 6 established farmers to work with a farming family for a year, then the next year he changed. And and I did it for 3 years, and they were gonna, the only critic, and one low score was somebody thought that was too much money for only 18 people to be involved. But those 18 out of that 300,000 is still going on. The mentor program, because once, we start working together and you're helping me, you ain't gonna let me go. I'm gonna still come around, you're gonna get some free labor out of me, we're gonna do things and we're gonna grow somebody else. So that was a project, and Sarah is really simple. I don't know what this one tells about, but Jahari and I did one. Oh, I think this is the one about Kansas. We worked with, that was the one that only 13 people applied for, and all they wanted you to do was break down some barriers.
What page, what book is that?
I don't know, I just read a few. One is the 06, 07, but Jahari can get some, we can get some old copies. We'll get trying to get the old copies.
Also, Sarah's good for finding out about things. It's a good information source,
Yeah.
along with Rogel and ATRA, and ATRA. Those are places where you get your base knowledge. Everybody doesn't have families that have tradition to pass down, so you've got to learn a lot of things.
The best part about SARE, and I bought SARE and want you guys to know, because most people are not trying. SARE means sustainable agriculture. They're into sustainability, and that's what they want you to show in your grants, how you're going to be able to sustain it. Plus, they're organic. They don't sell organic, but they really want sustainable, and that's a thing that they, needs to be researched on, because sustainability means so many different things to so many different people. But SARE loves practices that are sustainable, and most everybody I know in this area are basically chemical-free, or they're either natural, organic, or whatever. So, which is a plus for SARE, and they love to do people like this. I was going to share this with the gentleman here. Ultra is a sister organization of SARE. Ultra's only job in life is to do productions, publications. They have probably now Oregon State does blueberries, but there's chemical and theirs is organic. Ultra has a whole section. You can look at this. We say ATRA. Okay, yeah, we just call them my little sisters. On organic blueberry, it probably is ATRA. It looks more like ATRA. They were trying to stop their farm, their budget for a while. Yeah, it's stuff out there.
You need ATRA. I mean, any kind of research you're interested in doing.
Anything you want to know, you can find out, and they will talk to you on the phone.
I did a simple community, when I was at the community center, did a simple grant for the children. Actually, Louisa was a benefactor. The little grant for doing a compost project, remember that? She did a community compost project through the community center. But it was literally like one simple form. She was homeschooled, and it was a perfect idea. And so those grants are available. And that was just a SARE grant. I think I blinked and I was finished with the application.
Bad question.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry.
I want to ask another question.
Oh, yeah, another question.
You said somebody asked about a grant writer. A grant writer for these. So how did you get that?
The grant, like I said, most grants, like Barbara was talking about, are fairly simple, and even the ones that you're talking about doing for your own personal farm. It gets complicated when you're trying to get the $300,000 grants, okay? When you have to put up, like the one we're doing now, even the one for this particular program, or the one we're trying to put together for NIFA, through the NIFA grant, that's where you have to have this. It's $275,000. Well, this year it went down to $250,000, but you have to have matching funds. So you have to show where you're going to match dollar for dollar for that opportunity. Yeah, so that's when it gets complicated. And even though myself, I'm in technology, my husband's in technology, it took us two days pulling our hair out to get that grant through.
just to take, now, and brother, Brother Rashid, three of us were literally 3 days, almost in tears, putting that grant through, just to take knowledge. That's where it gets a little complicated, when you're trying to go for the big bucks.
And let me say this, when you've got organizations that's already doing it and it's benefiting you, do the ones that don't. I don't fool with matching funds for one. But even do your farmer rancher. If you've got 3 people in your organization and each one do a farmer rancher, just as simple as something that you can do and don't require to go 5%, then there's 22 or 21,000 that you get, and use your existing organizations for the bigger grants. If they're doing it, because see, really when you start with the big money, they get people who've had a track. They like to find somebody who's done something for 3 years that they've been giving big government funding. The other thing they'll look at is, besides the matching funds, because you could use in-kind, but they'll look at who's going to manage your money, or the ability for somebody to manage your money.
It's real true.
Some of them are reimbursed. They give you money after you've done it, so you need a nest egg or whatever. So do like Sarah has the ones that's down to earth and easy, and foundations have one that don't require a lot. But then if you get an organization or a couple of organizations that's doing stuff and their name is out there and they're getting them, just work with that.
Okay, how do you see the money? How does the money come?
It depends on the grant.
I'm going to have to start tabling questions.
Okay.
I'm sorry, brother. When we get to the program on the schedule for assets and resources, we're going to talk about more of that. Look on your schedule, and there's a day just for assets and resources. So, in the meantime, we're right around noon. Donnie, there is an aquaponics, the venture in Chicago that just got funded last year. They're in operation. They sell to Whole Foods. They're considered the first indoor organic aquaponics system or company in the country. They're certified organic. And it's called Sky Greens. I met the people. They got some of their initial financing from the Good Food Financing event that's going to be coming up next week. That's how they got their start. So that's why it's so important. But check that out, and it's really key. They're phenomenal. It is a great operation. So we need to like literally stand up and give Barbara a round of applause. Your go-to person, I'm telling you. So her phone may be off the hook. Just ringing. But keep going. I appreciate you so much, Barbara, for coming and sharing that information. Her information is right here. You have her contact number. You have her contact email address. She is a mentor. She is one that, with all these government programs, I'm telling you, it's just a person to know, for sure. All right? So, we're going to be going into our lunch hour. You wanted to say something?
I just want to say that we hope that all of you guys will join Pembroke Farming Family, and we want to develop a resource similar to the knowledge that Barbara has right here. There's an opportunity for someone to step up, learn some of these things. We have a tremendous opportunity as farmers. There's so much money out here for us to do what we got to do, because people have to eat. They need people like us to grow the food. So there's money out here to help us do what we got to do. Just got to educate ourselves and go for it.
In your groups, we're going to be taking the names of who's in your group. Your group should be understanding all these government agencies. All these possibilities are available. Know the acronyms, what they mean. Know which department has what. Your group, you should be studying and understanding that. So, to add to your list of things to do, they're wonderful. All right, we're going to go ahead and let's say prayer before we get started. Then we're going to have our menu, what we're going to have for lunch. And then we can take a quick break before our speaker is here, who's going to also probably talk about Farmer Family. Both our Vice President and our Treasurer is here today. Okay, so I'm really happy. So we need